Are you looking to join Cycling Men of Leisure for one of our rides in 2025? We've got a few things on our schedule.
That's right. We'll be attending Big Bragg and also the Bourbon Country Burn.
Big Bragg is in Georgia and Bourbon Country Burn's in Kentucky. Both places are going to be absolutely beautiful. We're going to have teams for both of those events. If you're looking to join us on our team, just send us a message. We'll tell you what to do.
So come on out. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely.
Well, it's time for Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure, the podcast for cyclists who understand that riding is not just about getting to the destination, but the experience along the way. Now, here are the original Cycling Men of Leisure, Adam and Michael.
The following is part one of a two-part show. Please enjoy part one, and 1 week from today or Sunday the 23rd, part two will come out. Thank you for your support. Welcome to Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. Once again, as usual, I am Adam, and again, I am joined by a man who was willing to travel across a time zone through two airports coming through Detroit and on to Savannah with me on the same plane. One of us was in first class, one of us was back in the back. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Sharp.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Good.
I love it that you have to sneak that in. We were on the same plane, but I was sitting in first class and he was back with the cattle and steerage. So
no, come on, I sent you a drink back. I had the ladies up front, the flight attendants. I said, "Can I ask you a favor? My best friend's in the back. Wasn't able to make the connection work. Can I send them a bourbon?" I sent you a bourbon.
Now, for the record, you did send me the bourbon. I certainly appreciate that. I'm sure you were like, yeah, my buddy's in the back and, well, he didn't have the connections that I've got. So he's back there and let's all feel sorry for him. But no, I appreciate the drink. It was very nice.
Well, of course. I'm a big
Nothing like a little Woodford's at, 32,000 feet.
Hey, that's right. We had an adventure to start. And boy, did we have an adventure. So,
oh, boy. Yes.
We are talking about Big Bragg 2024. Just want to get this out there right now. If you are a regular listener, this is going to be a two-part show. We just want to let you know right now. So you have a choice right now. Boy, it's like Sophie's choice. Do I listen to the guys that I like? Or do I hit pause and wait? Now, normally we make you wait 2 weeks. We're not going to do that. We're going to have a show come out this Sunday and the next Sunday. So there'll only be a week pause, but it's going to be a two-part show. We've got a lot to talk about.
But let me say, it's going to be a great show.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a review of Bragg.
Yes.
We had some adventures.
Oh, we did.
We had drama. We had trauma. We had everything in this year's. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do some shout outs to some of our people that we met along the way. We've got a couple of short interviews, which is going to be good.
Yep.
Then after that, I think we're going to talk a little bit about our upcoming ride.
Yep.
Up to the up north, as you would say, in Michigan. And then we've got a couple of products that this first time we used them was on this last ride. We're going to review them.
Yep.
So in a little segment, I think we're going to call Success or Distress. Was it successful or did it cause us distress or somewhere in between?
You know, it's funny. I've got an interview on Monday about distress in the workplace. So, but a friend of mine is going for his master's program and said, "Can I interview you on Monday?" So when you said that, I'm like, "Whoa!" So I think this is going to be a great show. But I think what you're saying is for our subscribers and listeners that while it's going to be a two-part show, it's going to be worth it.
Oh yes, it's definitely going to be worth it.
Otherwise, we're not giving 110% to what we believe in. So,
plus, little side note, I'm out of town on vacation next week, so it's going to make it a little hard for us to record this show.
Somebody has to go to Florida.
Coming from the man who lives there as his second place of residency. So, saying.
Your other house has mice, my friend. Your other house has mice.
It does indeed. So,
well, let's get rolling. Man, there's so much. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this all day. So,
let's hop right in.
all right.
Because you know what's first on the list?
Listener Spotlight.
That's right.
I got my toys back. I love it.
Yeah, we're all thrilled that you got your toys back.
Absolutely.
All right, a little listener spotlight. It's been a couple of weeks since our last episode, but I'll go ahead and give you the clues.
Okay.
The clues are as followed. The first Europeans visited this area in 1792. It has a history of boom and bust cycles. You can say it is the smartest city in the U.S. It's very bike friendly. Its most famous landmark was basically doodled on a napkin. And it is the hometown of someone who helped fans understand that 2 Winchesters can take out almost anything.
Winchesters as the rifle?
Well, that's for you to decide.
Well, listen, I seriously love when we get a mailbag entry, and we got one.
Let me guess. Somebody thinks they know it.
Oh, they don't think. I mean, this Stephen Witz came to us 10 days ago, 10 days ago, and said, "Love the show, guys. Listener spotlight. At first, I thought about Vancouver, Canada. A lot of clues fit.
Good guess.
But discounted that guess, as you said, it is an American town."
Good catch. Yeah.
Now, here's a hint. He says, had to look it up. So we've done research on the listener spotlight. Got the supernatural clue. Didn't know that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was born in Seattle. So my guess is Seattle, Washington. Have a great big brag, guys. So, ladies and gentlemen,
okay.
Mr. Witz, who is listening and watching, because this came to us from YouTube, has said Seattle, Washington. How did he do?
Okay. Well, I'm going to say he did very well. Listener spotlight is, in fact, Seattle, Washington.
Woohoo!
Now, what I'm even most impressed about.
Okay.
That's right. Give him a little applause.
That's right.
He got the supernatural. And for those of you that don't know, Supernatural is kind of a cult classic television show. Ran for, I don't know, like 15 seasons or something like that, about 2 brothers, last name of Winchester. And they went around fighting supernatural things, everything from, Greek gods and monsters to, angels and devils and things like that. So, it was a good catch.
Wow.
So let me just go through this real quick. First Europeans visited the area, 1792. That was George Vancouver during his expedition to chart the Pacific Northwest. It had a lot of boom and bust cycles. The economy started out with lumber. Then they had the Klondike Gold Rush. A lot of the people went through there. They had shipbuilding, and the most recent one's been Boeing. You can say it's the smartest town in the U.S. Per capita, it has more college grads than any other U.S. city. And it also has the highest literacy rate. It is very bike friendly. It ranks 5th overall in the U.S. And actually in 1987, their police department was the first police department across the country to actually put officers on bicycles, on mountain bikes. Its most famous landmark that was doodled on a napkin, I think I said everybody's probably seen this, is in fact the Space Needle. which was built in 1962 for the World's Fair. And then it is the hometown of someone who helped us understand that 2 Winchesters can take out almost anything. And that is, in fact, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's an American actor. He played John Winchester, the father of Sam and Dean Winchester on Supernatural. So there you have it. Good guess. Got it right. Nicely done.
On behalf of Adam
And Michael,
we both want to say thank you
for your support.
And are you just going to leave out home of Starbucks and all that?
Well, that's too easy. See, if I put it's the home of Starbucks, well, a lot of people know that already. And I try to do things that it's harder to look up. See,
All
you know,
right.
I don't say, hey, it's got a Space Needle. Well, you know, got to make it a little difficult. But
Okay.
our listeners are starting to catch on and starting to pick up on the little clues that I'm throwing in there. So,
That's cool, though. I love
oh,
it.
yeah, I love it. One other thing I want to do before we leave this segment is I did want to give a warm welcome to listeners from a couple of new countries.
Okay.
And those would be, we now have listeners from New Zealand and Romania. So welcome.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Funny story about Seattle. My father, as you know, and I think
Mhm.
some people on this show know, was a pilot and finished his career with Delta Airlines, but for a while in Northwest. Anyways, other airlines before that. But I went out to Washington to see Dave Matthews Band at the Gorge in George, Washington, and we flew through SeaTac. And when we were there, I looked up, and there was my father. So we were traveling, and he was flying through and on his way. And so we sat and had a little coffee, and neither of us knew we were going to see each other that day. It was kind of interesting. So it's kind of cool.
What are the odds are that you and your dad would just randomly end up in the same airport? I mean, that's just astronomical.
It was a good trip out there.
Now, he wasn't the pilot of your flight, was he?
No, he was.
Oh, that would have been even better.
I was heading home, and he was an international pilot. So
Okay.
Finished his career international anyway. So, well, your dad was in aviation. He got tied up in all that ALPA stuff where you couldn't fly passengers when you were 60, and then they changed it to 65. But in the meantime, he was doing cargo, so he was flying through to get to Anchorage, and then he would fly cargo jets, and then
Cool.
ALPA, allowed people to go get a check ride, and then he did passengers until he retired. So great career. He had a good career. So, well, anyways, that's been another episode of our favorite listener spotlight. Now you'll have another one for us at the end.
Oh, I've got another one queued up. Yes.
Now the funny thing about that is it won't be the end of this show. It'll be the end of next show because it's a 2-part show. So.
That's a good. Oh, well, we
know.
could record it and slide it in there. Just saying.
Try. We'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
I'm not the one lollygagging to Florida tomorrow. I am going to be.
Excuse me, mister. I was in Florida, 3 times last year?
That's not important. Let's keep going. Gotta keep going.
Move on.
So, you're back. You're back from outer space. I'm just kidding. You're back from the great state of Georgia. How was your week? Good? Busy? Slammed?
It was good, getting back into the swing of things. Not sleeping in a gymnasium with 100 other people. Not living out of my North Face bag over here. Just a few of those little things. Not hopping on a bike every morning and just, following a group of people down a road, going to wherever else we were going. So yeah, it was, those rides are always great, but then there's always some adjustment to get home because it's like, wow, I get to sleep in a real bed and I don't have to go to a trailer to take a shower. But it was all good. My flights got me where I needed to go on time. I didn't have to do standby. It was
your
good.
Anniversary. You made it home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last year,
all is well.
Last year, we didn't think we were going to make it home. We would eventually made it home, but not for your anniversary. But you made it.
Yeah, well, we made it.
So I thought I mean, without giving a play-by-play, I would start from the beginning and kind of give a few highlights and the people we met along the way.
Absolutely.
I started my trip with a CT scan.
That's interesting.
As everybody saw me in Georgia, I've been on a weight loss and campaign, and so I was running, and I had a couple episodes. I've been pretty open and honest on this show, so I had a couple episodes of blood in my urine, and so of course, I'm 48, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's not normal. So just as a precautionary measure, it does happen to some. I'm not a marathon runner by any means, but it does happen to some marathon runners. I guess it's kind of can be normal, but for me, I was like, whoa. So I went to the doctor. So yes, on my way to the airport, hotel by the airport, I stopped by the hospital and had a CT scan. So that was fun. But I'm happy to say, while we were in Georgia, just getting right to the point, all is normal. So it was kind of on my mind, but we woke up in social circle and
you were like, everything is clear.
Everything is good. So I rode like the wind bullseye that day. So
you did indeed.
I started my normal trip. I got to the hotel and sat back and watched the planes and had a bourbon and a cigar. So that was normal. And then let's see here. When it all felt real, I mean, when we got to the hotel building the bikes in Savannah. So you and I met in the Detroit airport, and then we jumped on the same plane and got a lift. And then once we started building the bikes, I'm like, oh, this is real. This is happening. we are about to start another adventure. So
yeah, that is the point where it becomes real. It's like, this is what we're here for. We're putting together the bikes, what we're going to rely on to get us from, in this case, this year, Atlanta to Savannah. So
we're going to talk about him a little bit later. But then our friend Armando came up. And so, Stephen, you can mark the time. It's about 17 minutes in the show. Stephen Hill said you guys talk about Armando a lot. So, Stephen, about 17 to 20 minutes, depending on if we have any advertisements going on. But there you go.
No, he wants to know when we talk about Armando.
No, he just said. Oh. He said, hey, look, we're going to talk about Armando.
I was just like, so what is Stephen deciding? It's like, I just want to hear this part. So skip through 17 minutes. Okay.
No, he's going to have to wait. I mean, we can't jump the gun yet, but we'll get to that part. But
yes,
it's a joke. He said, hey, look, they talked about Armando again. He's like a celebrity. So
got it.
So we met up with him. That was my first time in Savannah, and we got to go by the Riverwalk where all the restaurants, and that was just really cool. I thought that was just, besides the roller skaters that were going around, that was kind of weird to me, but I guess
kind of unsafe actually, but beautiful Riverwalk area. It's kind of in the old warehouse area of town, historical warehouse thing, and a lot of great little restaurants, and we got ourselves a beer and got us some good food and just sat there and kind of people watched the river. And I caught up with Armando. So that's always a good time.
Absolutely. Another thing that made it seem real to me is if this is one of your first shows you've ever heard about us, we go on adventures, bike adventures. This adventure, we were actually taking a bus from Savannah to Atlanta to start our ride back to Savannah. But it would always seem real to me is once we got to the park and we started seeing all of our friends, it was like, even though it had been like 359 days since we had seen them, it was like we just saw them. I mean, everyone's coming up and saying hi and like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Ready? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. That was just while I know it had been almost a year, you would never have known that it was almost a year. So,
well, one thing that adds to that, I think, is really today is social media. A lot of those people we're friends with on social media, so we see what rides they're doing and what they're doing in their life. So when we get face to face, there's really no catching. I mean, very little catching up because we already kind of know what each other's been doing throughout the year, so that we can just pick up where we left off. But definitely ran into some of our old friends. It was nice.
It was cool. I mean, right away, everyone's like, dude, how much weight did you lose? I was like, every conversation was like, wow, you lost a person and everything else. So that felt good. But at the same time,
you even had people walking up to you that you didn't even know.
Absolutely.
That I don't think ever even talked to you, that had just seen you at a past year on the brag, and they were like, "Oh my God,"
like, "Oh, you've been working hard. How did you do it, or whatever?" And then one guy did say to me, he said, "Can I ask you something?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't want to offend you." And I said, I'm not easily offended." And he said, "Are you like ill? Like, is this on purpose?" I said,
"Oh yeah."
I go, "No, it's on purpose." So he's like, "Man, you've been working hard." So. But then again, I don't know what it is with you and I. We boarded the bus from Savannah to Atlanta. Now, I expected Atlanta traffic, but right away, we saw something, the craziest thing I've ever seen. So I want everyone, if you're on YouTube, you'll see my hands, but if you're listening, just kind of imagine you're on a 2-lane freeway. I mean, 2 lanes going the opposite direction, 2 lanes going, and we were going northwest. And so then there's this major accident. And then on the emergency, I can't even say it without laughing, but on the emergency side of our lane, shoulder, people are heading southeast. I mean, I'm talking the same side, like 3 feet from our big motor coach bus. People have decided just to turn around.
We're not going any further straight ahead because the traffic is slowed down. So we are going to turn around, get on the shoulder.
Yes.
Go against the traffic.
Oh my gosh.
And get off at the next exit, which means when you get off on the exit, you're really going against traffic.
I thought we're going to die or someone's going to die. And then out of nowhere, a state patrol officer went in the same direction we are. So now I'm like, I got to know, did those guys get tickets? So if you were on the freeway that day and you got a ticket for going the opposite way, can you please send me a message? I would dying to know if anyone got some sort of infraction for doing this. Now, I will tell you in Michigan, what happens is people will, if they are near the ramp and it's gridlocked and stopped, they will go up the ramp the wrong way, hypothetically, to get off the freeway. And it's just a onesie twosies, but these guys were whipping. I mean, they were going zoom, zoom, zoom. I'm like, whoa. And
they were going like 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Or more, zipping up there. But
hey,
how exactly do you handle that when you're zipping along there at 50 miles an hour, slam on your brake because you're going the wrong way in the shoulder, and you come up face to face with an officer?
Explain that to the insurance company.
Yeah.
How did it happen?
Well, you see...
Well, you and I have the same insurance company, and I'm going to tell you what they would say. Excuse me?
Denied.
But all good. We made it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Made it through Atlanta traffic. Started at Oglethorpe University. And I tell you what, that was exciting, too. That felt, again, like we were mini celebrities because...
Oh, we got off that bus, and it was just like, everybody was like, "Hey, Adam, Michael, hey."
And then our friends, I'm going to give credit where credit is due, Mandy from Team Paparazzi and Brian, they're like, this is where you want to go, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you go this, you do this, you go here. And that's where the air conditioning is. Don't go to the first room. And sure enough, I know, I want to say official, thank you. Thank you. Because we were back when it was so cold I was shivering, but at the same time, better than being hot. So...
Well, there was 2 gyms, and if you passed the first gym, went up the stairs and kind of finagled around, you went to a second gym, which didn't have doors to the outside and was nice and cool. So thank you.
So, I mean, that was really fun because we picked up our team jersey, and then we had a passing of a team jersey out. What I mean by that, if you are not a regular brag rider, we had more than 10 people sign up. We had the jersey, and then we had the largest box. Sorry, had to mention that. But we had the largest box of jerseys to pass out. Second year in a row, large.
It just wasn't the box.
That's right. Well, look at those balloons.
Whoa. It just wasn't the box. We had the largest team second year in a row.
Absolutely. And then
we had to get on the road.
Yeah, unfortunately. Just trying to look here at my notes. Yes. So that next morning we saw Ed, our friend Ed. Ed was only able to do one day. He's had a couple of obligations. I guess life gets in the way, but good to see him. And so he donned the Cycling Men of Leisure official team jersey 2024 on the first day. We wore the official Bragg jersey as the book, ride guide had recommended. And so, by the way, I think we need to talk about that jersey. That was, yes, I love ours, and I think it's one of the best jerseys, but the Bragg, that was really cool.
I loved it this year.
Yeah.
For those that didn't see it, you should go onto the Bragg site and look at the Bragg jersey. It was orange, and then all over the jersey, it had different historical and cultural things from Georgia all over it.
Yeah.
It had universities, it had historical points, everything.
Delta Airlines, it had.
Exactly. Anything really culturally or historically bound to Georgia was like represented. And it's cool because it's one of those things that you look at it once and you see it, and then you look at it again. It's like, oh, I didn't see this and I didn't see that. So no, it was really a awesome looking jersey. So kudos to whoever designed it.
Had Outcast on there, Delta Airlines, CDC. My wife liked the CDC. She's an RN, so she's like, "Oh, that's cool," So yes, we started our adventure. From my memory, we went by Stone Mountain, and
which, let me stop right there.
Yeah,
we went by Stone Mountain, which, if those who don't know, it's like this large protruding stone. I'm assuming granite or something that's, just exposed coming out of the ground. I don't know how tall it is. But what had happened is they did a relief carving of Civil War, Confederate Civil War generals. And, we're not going to get into politics of that nowadays, but it's a really cool carving. My disappointment is we only got close enough to be able to take a long distance picture. I would have loved to have been able to somehow get closer to really be able to see it.
You didn't travel with your telephoto lens?
I, didn't have room in one of my 3 pockets to put the telephoto lens. But so that was a little disappointing that we, couldn't be closer and actually see it, but it's okay.
I think we need to make a mention of something that actually made the first 2 days of our ride is one of the times that somebody said, this guy's lost a lot of weight, is when we were at the first break stop, and in the city of Atlanta is behind us. We had been through the city, rode through the city, which was just awesome. And you'd never be able to do that any other time, except for 7 a.m. And this guy comes up to me and he says to his son, and by the way, they're both their names are Luke squared, Luke Senior and Luke Junior.
Luke.
And he said, you should have seen this guy. He's like, this was twice the size before, and he was a strong rider then. I can only imagine. And I'm like, I'm listening. Keep talking, But those riding with Luke, we rode with Luke Jr. more, but we got to ride with him. We were kind of in the same speed and pace going through, so that was really great. And so, regretfully, Luke, for safety reasons, Senior needed to bow out, and Luke Jr. Definitely was educated and knew what he was talking about, and so he got Dad out of there. And so they vow to be back for next year's Bragg, and so I just wanted to hope that a speedy recovery for him, and hope everything is okay, and we're glad that our paths crossed. That was
absolutely.
That's why
they were fun.
So tough decision, but for health and safety, they had to get out of there. So. But next year, we're going to officially welcome them to Team Cycling Men of Leisure. And so that'll be awesome. Oh, you know what else?
What?
This is extremely important.
Oh, boy.
That began the official helping people along the way.
Okay. Let's just skip this. let's just move along.
Hey, Adam, I need a Coke.
Sounds good. We'll be back after a quick break.
With the brim installation. I was able to help Eva right away, right there with her brim, helped her get it on, and we were able to be one DeBrim Nation. Hashtag the number one DeBrim Nation. Check it out. If you're not wearing a brim, you are missing out. What a beautiful safety device for cycling. So
two things.
Is this where I'm sorry. Go. I'm just kidding.
What were you saying? Two things. Number one, apparently there's a flaw in this because very few people can figure out how to put those things on correctly. So that's a problem. And secondly, I don't know why you're advertising for DeBrim so hard here. I mean, they're not paying us.
As a matter of fact, they completely ignored my email. But
so there you go. So why are we pushing DeBrim? Who's DeBrim's competition? If you're going to push anybody, push their competition. Do they have a competition?
Safari Hat Joe. I don't know the competition, but I'm working on a sponsorship, buddy. I am working on me.
Well, I'm not saying we need a sponsorship. We just need to stop talking about DeBrims.
We're not stopping. I mean, listen, we got a lot. I mean, you better settle in. This is a DeBrim episode. So,
we had such a wonderful friendship. Those guys always got along until the DeBrim came in the way and just kind of,
Well, yeah, if you just get one, then you'll just be part of the pack. So I don't know what you're worried
I'll be part of something, all right, that I don't think I want to be part of. But anyway, let's move on.
We'll keep going here.
Yes.
So, that's pretty much my memories from day one, except for, we ended in Oxford and something that was just fun for me is, when Benjamin and Katie and you and I and Walter and Armando are sitting at the city pharmacy, having old fashions for $6.
Happy
hour. And we were not afraid. We kept her busy stirring because she was hand stirring the cocktails, and we were
now see there I had to step out. My stomach was really giving me fits for 2 days.
Yeah.
And I was really having a lot of problems. So I stepped out for a while and went down to the Quickie Mart or whatever to get something to see if I could do something with my stomach. But it did get better. But just a point of order, the pharmacy is actually not in Oxford.
No, it's in Covington.
It's in Covington, which was kind of cool because Covington is like one of those towns in Georgia that's like the mecca of TV and movies.
Yeah, you were saying that.
The town square, if you look there, it's like, hey, this looks familiar. I mean, they filmed The Dukes of Hazzard, Cannonball Run. They filmed In the Heat of the Night was filmed there. They made it up as Sparta. Vampire Diaries. So there was just a ton of movies and stuff that have been shot there, which was kind of cool because you could look around the town square and goes, oh yeah, I remember this from one of those movies. So it was cool.
Well, I appreciate that. I know that Benjamin and I we were enjoying the old fashioned. So, and they had a beautiful meal there. I had scallops that were just awesome that night. So, good place. So if you find yourself in Covington, go to the city pharmacy. I'm not paid by them either, but I'm going to tell you to go. So, that's pretty much it for me from day one. Anything else that strikes, worth mentioning?
I don't think so.
Okay.
A little bit of rain, but we managed.
Yeah. Day two. Day two was fun. Going back, I'm going to go back 2.5 years for us, which is just funny because life is going by so fast sometimes. We were having this imagination that we could put a team together, and how cool would it be if just 10 people, and then just 10 payments, $9.99 you can have. I'm just kidding. We just needed 10.
We needed 8.
Oh yeah, we needed 8 besides us. That's right. And we were not sure if we were going to get the 8. and we ended up getting 25. And we were kind of like, whoa. And this year, we started with 39. I regret to tell you that, according to my calculations, I'm looking here, I think we ended at 36. So
yeah, we had 3 that had to drop for various and assorted reasons. So
let them share their own stories. But we sorry we didn't have them, but we were pretty excited. So we woke up, we had a message service that you and I split to be able to send messages out to everybody, and we sent our message out to do our picture, and there we were taking our big team picture at 6:45 in the morning. So we didn't look too bad for 6:45 in the morning.
it was early in the ride, early in the week.
We didn't look good either, but I mean, not too bad. So, so Jersey, I think was awesome. If you didn't
love
get
the Jersey,
you can go to Facebook and check it out. And we've uploaded it for the background image for Cycling Men of Leisure, Cycling Women of Leisure. We had 2 teams. For those of you who were there, I'm sorry. I know it's a repeat, but if you weren't there, they were themed alike. The only difference was one was cut for a woman with a pink stripe, one was cut for a man with a red stripe. Besides that, they were identical, except for the logo for the men says Cycling Men of Leisure. For the ladies, Cycling Women of Leisure. And it was fun. It was just fun all day long. One guy even said, "What do you guys got, a cult out here?"
whoa. Yeah. I started throwing around that word. I was like, let's not call it that.
This is a family show. What are you talking about this? So,
hey, Mom, these guys have a cult. No.
But definitely a good day of riding, going into Social Circle.
Love Social Circle, by the way.
That was fun.
Smallest town that we stayed in.
Yeah.
But probably the friendliest town we stayed in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And bands were excellent that night. And you and I sat on the lawn doing what we do best, enjoying a bourbon and enjoying a classy cigar. And we made friends who said, "Oh, is this the place for cigars?"
Another guy walks up, "Is this the place?" Yeah, join in.
Looking at my notes, I think it was just a great day of riding. So we got our Italian ice from Moon Shadow Concessions. So that
Lynn
was fun.
and Tim, Moon Shadow.
I am
always happy to see them.
Shadow Moon. Okay, sorry.
And they have other things.
Yeah.
They got sandwiches and whatnot. This year, I did try a root beer float. Let me tell you, hot day, riding long. You sit down in shade with a big old root beer float.
Yeah.
Nothing better. Well, except maybe Italian ice. But, I mean, it was really good. Close second.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm willing to throw it out there. I know that Lynn supports us, so we support her. I think they need an Italian ice root beer float line only.
Express lane.
For those getting sandwiches and meals and everything, go to the right side of the bus, and everyone getting the only Italian ice, left side of the bus.
I like that idea because we got stuck behind a bunch of guys wanting tomato sandwiches or something,
Yeah.
And that obviously takes a little longer. It's like, we just want the Italian ice. Express lane, Lynn. Express lane.
Yes. Hope you're listening. That's just a piece of advice. Advice is free. You can listen or not. So
take it or leave it.
Now,
we're not in the catering food industry, so it may be a horrible idea, but it's our idea.
That's really all I have for day 2. I mean, besides just beautiful countryside and great day of riding, and that was still that my bike was still whole at that time. So, but
so now we're getting into some really good stuff. The bike was whole.
Yes.
Let us bring up the statistics for this year's ride.
Okay.
How many maintenance issues did we have?
Hey, Michael, I need a coffee.
Okay, we'll be back right after this message.
Two big ones. One big one. 3.
You had 3. And then, yeah. Well, you had 2 flats and 1 maintenance issue.
Yeah.
How many did Michael have? Let me do some counting.
I'm sorry. What was that?
0.
0.
0. No flats. No mechanicals.
So you're saying the Italians? I know. I'm just kidding. So
I'm just merely stating fact to keep the record straight. That's all.
So we were heading into Milledgeville the day that we had a layover day, and think of it like an oasis. I could see the Holiday Inn sign, because the way we like to do it on the layover day, you and I get a hotel, we get a rental car. I mean, we are cycling men of leisure. I mean, we're going to be leisure.
Yeah, on those days we stress the leisure and not the cycling. So
now I did get up at 6:30 in the morning and run. That wasn't very leisure, but after that,
kudos to you.
I appreciate that. So we're coming into town, and if we would have just done what everyone else did, we would have been fine, by the way. Everybody else who had hotels went to the Bragg campsite, left their bike, took the shuttle to the hotel, which is maybe what we should have done. But we thought, well...
But we added a rental car into that equation, which most people don't.
So we were going to divide and conquer.
Yes.
Coming down the big hill into Milledgeville, we pulled over and we said, okay, where's the rental car facility? Where's the hotel? We're used to, you usually do the rental car, and I usually get the hotel. And so I said, okay, here, let's load up our maps. So even though our bike computers had the cycling route on it, our iPhones had the routes to where we were going. And so mine had Holiday Inn, yours had whatever, Enterprise, I think. Yeah, Enterprise. And so I'm like, well, I got to go left. And you're like, I got to go left. I got to go left again. You're like, well, I got to go left. And so you're like, oh, I'm right down here. I'm like, oh, man, I got to go down the hill and up a little bit. And so you turned up towards the rental car, and all of a sudden, bam! I mean, this massive explosion.
I thought a car backfired. I was a half a block ahead of you. I thought it was a vehicle backfiring. That's what it sounded like.
And I honestly didn't know what had happened, but at first I kind of looked around and then realized I had no control of my bicycle. At that moment,
I mean, no control, more than the normal, but
yeah, more than the normal, right? And to give everyone a play-by-play, what I want you to picture in your head right now is a 4-lane divided highway with a turn lane and lots of traffic.
Commercial, both sides of the road.
Yes.
Many blocks of this. Yes.
Absolutely. 100%. So what happened is on the left side of my rear wheel, I must have hit something. It just doesn't seem logical any other way. I must have rolled over something just at the right angle, and all of a sudden I got about a 12 to 14 inch blowout where the tire literally separated within the clincher inside the rim, and the tire was loose, and the tube had come out even. And I kind of looked down, and when I looked down, I realized, oh my gosh, everything is disintegrating and falling apart. And then on my peripheral vision on my left side, I realized I was heading right for traffic, because what had happened was I was parallel with that traffic. And then when it happened, it kind of pushed me this way, if you will. And I know this is a podcast. It pushed me to the left towards traffic. If you're watching on YouTube, you could probably see my hands. And so it was like, oh my gosh. And so out of instinct, I tried unclipping and holding both brakes down at one time. I was able to unclip. I was able to balance myself by taking my legs out to the side of the bicycle. And then I just skidded to a stop and didn't even think about it. I don't know why this thing keeps giving me a thumbs up, but whatever. I skidded to a stop. Didn't think anything of it. I thought, okay, I'm going to get over there in the grass, and then I'll lift up the rear wheel on the asphalt, and then I'll let it roll on the grass. The grass is soft. Doo-doo-doo. And then all of a sudden you come riding up behind me, and you said, was that you? And I said, yeah, I had a blowout, blah, 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 blah. And you said, "Is it okay?" I said, "I don't know. We got to look at it when I get in the room." I kind of looked down and kind of looked at it. I was like, "Okay, well, I'll just."
I looked at it coming up on you, and literally the tube was off the rim, and the tire was off the rim, and the tube is like hanging out the side.
Yeah.
So I knew you had issues.
Boom, 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 boom. And it was like rolling. And so I'm like, okay, but I wanted to get out of that traffic. I just wanted to get somewhere safe and then inspect it. So we get to the hotel room. Finally, you kind of you kind of guide me. You walked with me, and we got to the hotel room. It was literally like a quarter mile on the road. I could see the Holiday Inn sign. So we get in the lobby. I go upstairs. We get in the lobby, and some people who listen to the show and know us. We were wearing Shoreline jerseys that day. We're going to get into Shoreline a little bit later, but we have special versions of Shoreline that say Cycling Men of Leisure and say, "Oh, you guys are Cycling Men of Leisure." And I said, I got to go to the bathroom, which I did. And then I looked at the bike, and at that moment, I realized at that time, I thought my ride was done. So the wheel was a carbon wheel, and carbon and asphalt, and carbon stopping on asphalt is like a big piece of sandpaper. And guess what lost? The wheel. And so then there was this perfectly good flat spot in the wheel, and the clincher, the tire clincher, was never going to work on that carbon wheel. But at that moment, I was trying to be positive and trying to think, well, maybe I could get a tire to hold. And then I was thinking to myself, there's no way it's going to hold. So immediately, I think you mentioned we need to find a bike shop, or we were thinking about, Aztec Cycles, and we'll get into Chris and his team, which are phenomenal. But Aztec Cycles travels with Bragg, but I wasn't sure, like, with the trailer, what he had there. So I called the local bike shop in town, which is Oconee, Oconee Outfitters. And they have quality bikes and outdoor items.
They're more of a rafting guide service than they are bicycles, from what I could tell. But
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. So I call, and you could tell that just when we walked in. I mean, he had some bike parts. He said they don't do a lot of road riding there, but I called and I said, "Do you have a wheel? I'm looking for a wheel. I just destroyed this carbon wheel." And he's like, "Well, I kind of got one." And we know they're going to listen to the show, but I wanted to tell the story exactly how it happened. He says, "Well, I kind of got one." And I said, "Well," I'm thinking to myself, you either have it or you don't. And he says, "I got an old one. It's used." And he said, "It's a rear wheel. Is that okay?" And I'm thinking to myself, like the skies are opening up. Like,
check one box.
Yeah. And he goes, "Well, it's made for Shimano." And I'm like, "Really?" And he goes,
check box number 2.
Exactly. He goes, "Yeah." He said, "It's either a 10 or 11 speed." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, "This is amazing."
Check number 3.
And I said, "Well, first of all," I said, "would you hold it for me?" I wasn't even thinking the price at the time. I wasn't even really thinking anything. I was just thinking, "Will you hold it for me?" Because I knew we had the rental car. And I said, "How long are you open?" And he said, "We're open till 6. And I said, "Will you hold it for me?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll hold it for you." And he said, "No problem." He said, "You better hurry, though. There's another guy from Bragg who wants it." And I said, "Well, listen," I said, "what do you think you want for it?" At that moment, just to be 100% transparent, I'm thinking to myself, the guy's like, "Well, got to take my family on vacation. I've got bills to pay.
That's a $300.
Yeah, you're desperate, and you are a city slicker, and you'll pay whatever I tell you." And he goes, "What would you say about $25? And I said, on the inside, I was screaming, "Yes!" On the outside, I'm like, "Well, I think that's very fair. I'll be right there." I said,
"You should have tried to haggle with him. Go, ooh, $25 is a bit steep. Could you come down a little?"
So I said, that was funny. "How about $12.50?" So I said, "Okay, yes, I would love it." And so at that moment, I was thinking, we'll just drive down, we'll get the rim, and then we'll go over to Aztec, and I would have Chris from Aztec and his team fix it up. And our friend Juan goes, why don't you just have them do everything at the Outfitters, Oconee, if that's how you say that. And I go, yeah, actually, that makes more sense. I don't know.
Makes way more sense.
I
Yeah.
wasn't critical thinking. I was just desperate to get, I didn't want my ride to end in Milledgeville. I mean, after, with the show and with you and I and all the planning and the flying and blah, 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 I just didn't want the ride to end. So Armando was there too, but Juan was like, just have him do it. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea. And boy, am I glad we did. So I go in the bike shop and he's like, I'm holding the carbon wheel, and he goes, "Oh, you're the guy with the destroyed wheel." I'm like, and what gave it away? So I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "Well," he's like, "Do you have a few minutes? I'd like to true this wheel for you." So not only was it only $25, I watched Keith. So it was Adam and Keith who took care of me. Adam's the owner, I understand, and Keith was the guy working. And Keith is he's over there. He's got it in the truing stand. He's tightening, getting on the ground, pushing on it. He's getting it, tightening it up and making sure. And at that moment, I'm like, I have a tube and a tire back at the hotel. Forget it. I said, can I just buy a tube and a tire from you too? And he's like, oh yeah. And we go over there, and I like the Continental Gators. And he's like, we have the Continental Gators. And I'm like, well, that's funny. I was thinking to myself, darn it, I have 2 of those back at the hotel. I should have grabbed one with me, but I'll take that. And so, so not only did he true it, put it together, I thought at that moment, because the story continues a little bit, I thought at that moment, this is just, all the times I help people out of my job and donate rides to people who are, I'm thinking, the good Lord is paying me back. So I have to re-earn all my attaboys again, but I thought this is perfect. So our friends were at Amici, which was literally a block away. And normally you and I would never do this. I was still in cycling jersey and everything. But at that time, they said, well, why don't you join us for dinner? And I was thinking, well, either we join them for dinner now, or we have to go all the way back to our hotel room, shower, and then come back. By that time, they'd be gone. And I said, forget it. Let's just do it. It's not our normal, but let's do it. And I'm glad we did. At that moment, once I could settle down and the stress was going away, we had a beer and we had good pizza.
But the funny thing about this is we always make fun of, it's like, what are these people doing? They're still in their biking full kits. They're sitting here at a restaurant eating. Why don't they just go take a shower, get in normal clothes? And we always comment about that. And this ride, we were those guys.
Just once we were. But
just once.
Yes, we were. But so before, finishing that story, so we get the tire, go back to the hotel, and after having dinner, and then by that time, you and I stepped outside for our normal bourbon and cigar, and I thought, all right, my ride's going to continue. On the layover day, you and I have always been known to jump in the rental car and go to a distillery, and so we hadn't really settled on one before we left for the trip. Normally we have that all planned out, and we just thought we'll go to Google and wing it. And Second City Distillery in Augusta, which ironically the ride went to Augusta last year, was the closest distillery open, and it was about 89 miles away. And in our little clown car.
Oh my God. I missed picking up my car by an hour. And at Enterprise, they don't give any leeway. It's like, you're not there. They give your car to somebody else. They had one car, and it was like Mitsubishi Mirage or something. It was basically a clown car.
It could fit in the back of my minivan.
But it got us to Second City.
Yeah.
So, which, by the way, was a fantastic distillery.
Yeah.
I mean, it was actually 2 blocks from where we ended the ride last year.
Yeah.
Right. Block down from the river, and beautiful distillery, had, oversized chairs, a nice bar area. And they actually had some really good bourbon. So
it was good.
And shout out to Sonny, our bartender. Yes. Who was from America, but had a very Australian accent.
Well, she was originally from America, went to Australia, got the accent, and came back. So, But that was a good trip. And then next morning we were heading out of Milledgeville, and let me tell you, they're pretty proud of the elevation over there coming out of Milledgeville. And we were on our way to Swainsboro, and Franklin, the executive director of Bragg, had told us, "Hey, coming out, you guys will have some elevation, just in passing, just communicating, talking to us." And so anyone who puts routes on a bike computer nowadays, pretty much one of the standard options is to see how many summits there are for the day. And mine said there were 9 summits for the day. I think I heard a couple other people had a little bit more or less, depending on how you have yours set up. But mine said 9. And we started out of town. We went back through downtown Milledgeville, or where the college was. And then we started up those hills, and my bike started making unfortunate clanging noises. Bam, boom, bam, bam, bam. And what was happening is the diameter or the width of my old wheel versus width of my $25, thank you very much, special. I appreciate the wheel, by the way. Must have been different, because as much as I thought things were going to line up and it was just going to work out perfect, anytime I shifted, I mean, it was a really nasty bam. I mean, just a hard shift. And I thought, oh, this is not good. I was going to wait until we got to the first brake stop and hope that Aztec was there. And we climbed like maybe six of the 9 summits already. And at that moment, here comes Franklin. And he goes around us in his truck. And I don't know, he stops at the top of the hill because he knows that he's kind of wondering, like, why are we, late? That was a century day, 100-mile day. And
wondered why we were all the way in the back.
Yeah. He's like, are you guys okay? And then, so that rental car, Enterprise, didn't have an after hours drop off. And I mean, I've never rented a car where you couldn't do after hours drop off, but sure enough, there we were in Milledgeville, and Milledgeville said, no, you're coming at 8:00. So you and I had already made the decision that based upon safety, based upon how we were doing, we would make a determination at the loop for the century. We would just kind of together agree or disagree and be more safe.
Which, by the way, we would not use Enterprise if we could get around it, because I don't,
Yeah.
That drop off, and then that's just ditching the car and or giving us, whatever they had left. Because the other places don't do that. But yeah, they also don't pick you up. So
No. Otherwise, I would have had them pick me up where I had the blowout.
Exactly. So Enterprise does not pick you up.
So at that moment, Franklin pulled over, and then I really don't know what you guys were talking about. I was down the hill trying to get my chain back on because the chain had come off. Got the chain back on, trying to make it up the hill, and even you guys at the top of the hill,
we could hear it.
Clang, 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 clang. And Franklin said, hey, you want a ride? I'll get you a ride for Chris from Aztec. He'll be at the first stop. And wouldn't you know it, Chris.
Here comes Chris.
Right by. And so Franklin gives him the international, just like scuba diving, whatever, we need help. And Chris pulled over. I mean, it was just like, talk about not wasting, but using all of my good karma from all the good things that I've done, helping old ladies with doors and purses and all kinds of stuff. I wiped it out right there. I got to start over now. Because Chris threw it up on the rack. He said, what's happening? Where's it going? And he made some fine-tune adjustments. And I had every gear except for my fastest gear at that time. Small in the back, big in the front, small in the back. And then at the first brake stop, then Chris adjusted it some more. I said, I just can't get it down there. Everything is good. And lo and behold, as far as the tire story, tire was destroyed, ordered a new one, but that tire then got us the rest of the way across Georgia, including a century. And that was before that we found out, Stephen, this is where we're going to talk about Armando. That was before we had found out about Armando. So we did the first break, and we both said, hey, we're on our way, which was an awesome break stop. That church had the air conditioner going.
Mm-hmm.
regular restrooms and got us fueled up. And at that time, I remember making a joke with you saying, well, depending on how we're looking at it, we're either 1/4 done or 1/5 done, depending, because it was about 20 miles exactly. And so then we were coming up to the second stop, and my phone started going off. And at that time, I think I lost service or something. We had stopped and helped a couple more ladies with their debris. I have to make sure I mention that.
Again, apparently they don't give good instructions on how to properly put these things on your helmet.
But we're not.
So I would just leave it off if I were you. But
we're not
just
insulting those two ladies, by the way. We're insulting instructions from debris. So and they said, "Hey, we love your debris. We have them with us, but we don't know how to put them on." I'm like, "Well, I do." And so the rest of the ride, they were like, "Thank you so much for helping us." And I checked on them the rest of the days. So they did fine. So hopefully they made it the rest of the way and got home safe. But and I know one thing, they definitely are not sunburned on their face because they had a debris on. But I get a message from our friend Juan, and he says, I had 2 flats. I'm heading to the first break stop. I'll ride back and meet you guys. Didn't think anything of it. I just sent a text message saying, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" And I got the following response: "We're in the hospital."
Oh.
I'm like, in the hospital? Like, what happened? And he said, unfortunately, Armando has had a crash. And then, of course, I skip the text messaging and I just call. And Juan answers the phone and says, and I have been given permission by Armando to say this, and he's got a message for everybody. So I just want to be clear. I'm not giving away his and it's not a HIPAA violation. He gave me permission to say it. So he said, yeah, I've had a cat. Juan said he's had a CAT scan. Radiologist is going to look at him. He's probably had a concussion. He's probably going to have to stay here overnight, and probably going to have to be observed. And I'm going to stay with him. Steven and I are here at the hospital with him. And of course, you and I both say, okay. And it kind of puts a real damper on the day. We weren't sure, like, what are you going to do? Here we were at this weird gas station where we could have gambled. Funny how you can gamble in every gas station there, but just not something I'm used to. But I guess you can. Lottery tickets, but these were actually slot
gaming machines. They had a gaming room.
And so we both wished our best to our friend and said, we'll check with you in a little bit later. And you and I kind of had that, oh man, because we had heard at the last break stop, the first break stop, one of the SAG drivers said, oh my God, this guy was hit by a car. And thankfully it was misinformation. Communication didn't really make it across the airwaves correctly, but bottom line is ambulance was called and so he was not hit by a car, but unfortunately Armando did go down. He was out for quite some time. A lot of people stopped to help him. Forgive me, usually don't do this when we're recording, but what he has said is, if you could express my gratitude to all that helped me, especially Cindy Hill for chauffeuring me to several places, Dr. Savannah Hotel. And then he just said that thank you for everybody and all of your support of all those who have mentioned it on Facebook. So, cool. The update on him before we just gloss over that is he did have a cracked pelvis, fractured pelvis. He was seeing double vision. He has since been to an orthopedic surgeon. Again, he's given me permission to say this. The orthopedic surgeon has told him to drop the crutches, stop using the crutches, start bearing weight on it, start just trying to get back to normal. The double vision is getting better. He does have an appointment with an ophthalmologist next week. He was able to see an optometrist, and listen to this story. He sees an optometrist, I believe in Swainsboro. I don't want to lie. I think it's Swainsboro. And after seeing the guy for an hour and looking at the prism, if you've ever been, and getting your eyes done and everything else, the orderly says, well, how much do we bill him? And the guy turns around and says, no charge. Spent an hour with him. Spent an hour with Armando. And the guy was like, no charge. So Armando being Armando, he asked the orderly, hey, where's that guy like to go for dinner? This was this guy's day off. He was going to head to the gym, and he gets called in to look at Armando. And so the orderly says, oh, this is his favorite restaurant. And so they go and they get a gift card, and Armando brings it back, just being who he is. And so, oh man, I'm losing my camera. Tell you what, I'm going to. So anyways, as far as the Armando thing going, he's home, he's resting. We wish him nothing but the best. You have just heard part 1 of a 2-part show. Please listen to the continuation of the second part of this episode on June 23rd. Have a great day.
Thank you for coming along with Adam and Michael on Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure. If you have enjoyed this, please subscribe to the show on the podcast app of your choice.
Hey, we just wanted to remind you that we've got some really cool products at our jersey and our swag store.
That's right. You can visit cyclingmenofleisure.com. At the top of the page, you'll find our stores page. Click there. There's 2 QR codes. The one on the left has a J on it. That's the store for the jerseys. The one on the right is just a swag store. Has all kinds of different items. Kind of customizable. You can kind of make the swag the way you want it. If the QR codes are giving you an issue, don't worry. Underneath, there's 2 buttons that you can click on. Thank you, and have a great day.